So this class is a basic course. And by the time we got to our third project, our mix project, we had covered most of the material that we were going to cover in the course already. Believe me, there's a lot to learn about Pro Tools, and it is a very deep tool, and you can do some very fun things with it. But as far as the test we're going to take in a few weeks, we have covered a lot of the material in the previous projects, and we've already started repeating it and getting it ingrained into our knowledge banks. We created a session. We're very good at that. We imported files. We're good at that. When you're learning the basics of mixing, one of the most important things is organizational skill. It wasn't a requirement, but we talked about it in the lecture, is the idea of folders. And there are folder test questions. So for instance, maybe I want to make it so my drums, which take up, in this case, 9 tracks, I want to make it so I can collapse these very easily and just get them out of the way. So what I can do is I could click my uppermost drum track, shift click my bottommost drum track. I can either do it in my tracks list or in my tracks themselves, and then I can right click in either one of them. I can go to move to, and then I can go to new folder. So I have 2 folder types here. You have the basic folder, which doesn't really do much. So I'm just going to type in drums. I'm going to hit create. And then what that allows me to do is it allows me to just hide my tracks. That's all it does. It's just an organizational tool, and that's it. I don't find this type of folder very useful. So we have a basic folder, and there is a question on the test that asks you, how do you know if something is a basic folder? Well, one, you see that it has a little folder in the corner, but it doesn't have any inserts, it doesn't have any sends, and it doesn't have any inputs and outputs. So I'm going to undo this. If I do the same process, I highlight these drums, and then I go to move to new folder, and I make this be a routing folder. It now gives me all the parameters that I would have on a normal track. I also have this checkbox that says route to new folder. I'm going to call this drums 2 to avoid confusion. And so now I can show and hide my drums very easily, but I can also put inserts on my drums. So one way to think about this is it is a basic folder, but it's like it has an aux track combined into it. It passes audio on top of it. So this is a more useful way to do things. The second thing that we learned was about using sends for processing. Let's say we were putting a delay on the voice. Let's say I wanted to put a quarter note delay on the end of this phrase here. So I wouldn't actually put that on one of my inserts here. I would use my inserts for things like EQs, gates, compressors, etc. So for that type of processing, the entire signal needs to go through it. But for other types, you want to have a wet and a dry. You don't need to know how to do this for the test. You only need to know why. I'm going to create an aux send it out to an aux track, and then I'm going to put my insert on the aux track. And I'm going to put the insert on the aux track instead, and I'm going to show you why this is valuable. Right now I have the aux send going into the plugin at Unity Gain, and it's really distracting. And there really isn't any difference between the wet and the dry. Why this is powerful is because I can automate this. And maybe I could put it just at the end of each phrase.
Take a look around, see the houses we build, they are falling down around us. The bricks slowly crack.
So it needs a little bit of work, but that's something you can't do if you just put your delay on the inserts. So we're planning ahead for next class, next term, when we're doing more advanced mixing things. So a little bit about sends shows up on the test. There is a thing called follow main pan. So let's say this vocal track, it's panned over to the left speaker, let's say. Right now, my delay is still in the center. If I want these things to remain together, then I would hit this button that says FMP, which means follow main pan. So it just means if I change the pan on the track itself, then the send will also follow. Then there's also this thing that says pre. When it is blue, it is pre-fader. When it is not blue, when it's off, then it is post-fader. For the sake of the test, don't really worry about this. This is an advanced concept. Just realize that if you don't see blue here, then it is post-fader. We will go into that next term in Pro Tools. Next term, we're going to really hopefully get into the weeds quite a bit with mixing and build on what we've done here. There is a lot to learn and a lot of fun stuff to do.